you might be wondering why we're even talking about social classes today. Well, the reason we're talking about it is because the government actually looks at your social class when all your senators are, trying to decide what kind of tax laws that they want to throw out to the table and get passed. They're looking at social classes and they're saying, how would this tax law change affect this social class? And so you might hear someone say something like, we're going to give out a small business credit and it's going to help all of the middle class. Well, we're going to really dive in and find out what that actually means, what middle class actually means. And so when you look at social classes, there are different ways that you can look at that. You can look at that by just looking at your income. You can add in education. You can add in the number of people in your household to come up with that category. Now, today, what we're going to look at are 5 social classes. Some will look at 3. But we're going to really focus in on the lower income social class, as well as the working or lower middle social class, and then also the middle income social class. So when you look at this chart, you're looking at how people identify themselves. So what happens is a company went out and did some research and they said to every individual that they talked to, what social class do you think you're in? And this was how they responded. So when you think about maybe Family Feud, and it says the top 100 people said, that's kind of like this chart is, okay? So when you look at this chart, you can see that people that make $0 to $19,000 a year, and for the most part, they feel like they're in the lower social class. But if you look all the way to the right, there's actually a few of them that believe they're in the very upper class. I thought that was interesting. But if you continue to look, as the income progresses, the people who believe they're in a lower social class go down, and the people who believe they're in a higher social class go up. Makes sense, right? I make more money, I'm in a higher social class. So I want you to think for a minute, look at this chart and these income levels and decide, what social class are you in? I don't want you to tell me, you don't have to raise your hand, just think about that for a minute. What social class do you believe that you're in? This screen is actually showing you, for a family of 3, what social class you're in based on your income specifically. No other factors, just your household and your income. So in this scenario, if you make less than $31,000 a year, you're considered to be in the lowest income class. So if you are working full-time, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks out of a year, in Missouri, making minimum wage, and you have 3 people in your family, then you are in the lowest social class. You're working as much as you can. Even if you did overtime, you're not going to make $10,000 in overtime. You don't have enough time to make $10,000 in overtime. So you're working as hard as you possibly can at minimum wage, and you're going to be in the lower social class. If you want to go and see your social class specifically, you can. There's a website that you can go to on the screen, as well as you can just go out and you can Google, what social class I'm in. And I guarantee you there'll be many websites that pull up where you can go put your information in and see what specific social class you're in based on your household size, and if you want to, you can add in your education level and different things. So you might be wondering, why are we even looking at this information? Why is this information important? Well, the government has actually set out standards for income levels based on your household size to determine if you're actually able to provide for your family at a basic level. And if you are not at that level, then you're considered to be in poverty. And so when you look at this chart, you can see based on our scenario that we talked about before, the 3 people, if you make $20,780 a year, which is just a little bit more than working full-time at minimum wage, not the old minimum wage, the new one that just happened in January, you're still making less than $20,000 a year. So you're living in poverty, okay? In our scenario, we're going to talk about a family of 5 here in just a minute and what their and how they're affected. And the reason we're going to talk about a family of 5 is because, like I told you, I'm going to share my experiences. And I have a family of 5 that lives in my household, or lived in my household. My majority of my kids are grown now, but at one point they weren't. So we had to pay for them. All right, so a family of 5, if you're making less than $29,421 a year, then you're living in poverty. So personally, I can identify with that. There was a long period of time in my life when I made less than that. When I went out and I looked at the census, I found out that there's 16.6% of people in Jasper County, Missouri, that are living in poverty. That seems to be a problem to me. In the state of Missouri, there's 13% of people who are living in poverty. Now, we talked about there's a lot of different government programs out there, and we're going to get more specific into those. And we talked about how those are really focused on survival. So you know they're focused on survival, or else you wouldn't see these poverty levels or rates continue to maintain the same numbers for years, or barely moving. If they were focused on prosperity, you would see changes in that. And we don't see changes in that. And if we do, it's very minimal. So in the whole state of Missouri, 13.2% of people are living in poverty. What's even more interesting is that when you look at racial minorities, there is a large gap there for people that are living in poverty. Only 11.4% of people in Missouri that are white are living in poverty. However, you've got 24.7% of black people, 16.8% Asians, 17.9% Latinos, and 17.8% of Indians are living in poverty in the state of Missouri. Now, here's a bigger and more interesting fact. Only 17.1% of people in the entire state of Missouri are any of these 4 racial minorities. So, when you look at this, 11.4% of white people are living in poverty, but 17.4%, or sorry, not 17.4%, but 24, 35, 45, 50, 65% of people, the other 65% of people that are living in poverty are racial minorities. Now there's always some other ones in there too, you know, like multiple races and different things that they add in there that, you know, are almost meaningless numbers. But that's a huge gap. And so that's one of the things that Set Ranch and Prosperity Club hopes to change. Obviously, it's not going to change today. It's not going to change tomorrow. But in the future, we hope to see those numbers change in our area specifically. So let's talk about some of those government programs. I like to call them poverty prevention programs because they're really there to help prevent people from living in poverty. That allows the government to give themselves a pat on the back. All the rich people give themselves a pat on the back. I paid my taxes, so I'm paying for you. Anybody ever heard that before? Okay, well, let's talk about that. So there's a lot of government assistance programs. Most of them you're probably aware of. Medicaid for children, food stamps, housing assistance, cash benefits, child care assistance, WIC. Some might not know, but there's telephone assistance where you can get low or zero cost cell phones, energy assistance programs to help you pay for your energy bills, gas and electric. You can also get free or reduced lunch as well based on your income. Even though all those programs are here, one of the biggest programs that are out there is actually directly related to your tax return. So you can get a couple of credits on your tax return if you're lower income that help you move up out of poverty as well. One of those is called the Earned Income Tax Credit. Whenever Obama was in office, he actually changed this credit to go from only being able to get it if you have 2 kids to being able to get it if you have 3 kids. So now if you have 3 kids, it increases that amount. So it's kind of really breaking up or really making an impact on that social class, right? When you think about those social classes we talked about earlier, I want to make sure that I call out that those classes only include your wages and your business income. You know, they're not, or investment income. They don't include your tax refunds and your assistance programs that are out there for you. So another one of the credits is the child tax credit. It used to be $1,000, and Trump doubled that and made it $2,000. There's some other ones too that aren't as impactful. The Savers Credit, which helps you whenever you contribute to a retirement plan, you get a small credit on your tax return. The Dependent Care Credit helps you offset what you pay for daycare. The Premium Tax Credit helps offset what you pay for health insurance. And then you have the American Opportunity Credit. And the refundable piece of that, which Obama also did, really helps impact the lower income people because, like I said, when you're lower income, you're less likely to owe tax. Therefore, you don't get to take advantage of certain credits. And so when it becomes refundable, then you get to take advantage of it. So that helps you pay for your higher education. And I don't know how many of you have ever heard this, but the number one way to get out of poverty and really make it, if you can't play football, is to go to college. We'll talk about that just a little bit later.